Before we get into today's video, guys, I do want to let you know real quick that I am giving away 2 sets of Destiny 2 CQC Signature Edition thumbsticks by Control Freaks. This giveaway is sponsored by Control Freak, and the giveaway is taking place over on Gleam. I will link the Gleam giveaway page down in the comments section below, and there you will find all the details for entering, as well as all the rules for the giveaway. Thank you guys, and best of luck. Hello everyone, and welcome to another Pyro Gaming video. We're sitting here in orbit for a reason. We'll get into that shortly. But before we do, I do want to point out something real quick, guys. Destiny 2 is a little over a month away. In fact, we're about to enter the month of August, and that is the last barrier between us and Destiny 2's actual launch. Destiny 2, of course, launches on September 6th. So that being said, we're entering our final month of Destiny 1 being relevant, meaning being the top game for the Destiny universe. As soon as Destiny 2 comes out, we're going to have new challenges to face, and most of us will be leaving Destiny 1 behind. So that being said, what are the activities that you should be putting on your radar to complete in Destiny 1 before you get into Destiny 2? Now, before we get into that, I do want to point out that we already know that nothing that you do in Destiny 1 is going to carry over into Destiny 2, so everything mentioned in this list isn't going to better you in Destiny 2. It's just going to make you feel a little bit better about leaving Destiny 1 behind, knowing that you accomplished pretty much everything that there is to accomplish. So starting off, let's go ahead and look down here on our director. We have a weekly featured raid, we have a weekly challenge of elders with random modifiers, the weekly nightfall, weekly heroic strikes, the weekly story playlist, as well as Mayhem Clash, which is the weekly Crucible game mode. Now right down here, you're going to see most of your end game activities. So starting with the raids. Each and every week, we get a weekly featured raid. When that raid is the weekly featured raid, that is the only time that you can complete the challenge modes for that raid. This week, the raid is Vault of Glass with the Templar Challenge and Atheon Challenge, both being at light level 390. Next week, it will revert to Crota. The week after that, it will be King's Fall. The week after that, it will be Wrath of the Machine. And then the week after that, which should be the last week before Destiny 2, is going to be Vault of Glass again. So if you've never done a raid, if you've never ever done a raid in Destiny 1 and you want to go do these, what I would recommend is, like I said, if you've never done a raid, instead of jumping right into the 390 version of that weekly featured raid, honestly, I would start with the old school version. So looking at the Vault of Glass raids, we have light level 26, light level 30, and light level 390. The light level 30, if you've never done a raid, this is still considered hard mode, so there are going to be some tougher enemies with more shields, and you will take more damage from them, even though you're such a higher light level than the activity is. This is still going to be a challenge if you don't know how to do these raids. And because you don't know how to do these raids, this is another reason that I would recommend starting with the hard version, but the old version. Not the current light version, but the old school version. That way you can at least get an idea for the mechanics, which for Vault of Glass, they really aren't that much different in these two versions. The only difference is this one has a couple of areas that you can get into and shoot enemies from that you cannot do in this one. But aside from that, everything else is about the same. So that's where I would start, right? So then next week, when it's Crota, I would do the exact same thing, only with Crota, I would do it a little bit differently. So if we take a look at Crota here, we can see that we have the level 30, level 33, and the level 390. This one being the current light level. What I would do is start with the level 30, actually, and do this shit 100% by yourself. Solo this raid. The 30 light level version of Crota is insanely easy to solo, guys. I always thought, like, oh man, like I would see these people do YouTube videos or do Twitch streams of them soloing Crota, and I was like, yeah, they make it look easy, but I bet it's actually pretty challenging. So then the first time that I tried it, I was like, wow, that actually is insanely easy. So, for example, in the level 30 version of Crota, you can pretty much skip the entire first encounter in the Thrallway by going to lamp number 2, jumping up on a little platform, and making all the enemies despawn, and then you could just have a nice little stroll to the end there. And then encounter 2 at the bridge, you can cheese it, get the sword, and fly across to the other side, and that's how you solo the bridge. And then when you get to the Death Singer, it's not hard. You just kill shit, blow up some Shriekers, kill the Death Singer. Kind of self-explanatory. Then for Crota himself, it will either take 2 Gallarhorn shots to drop him, or it will take 1 shot from Dragon's Breath. If you shoot it directly at his feet and he stands in the fire, he will go down. So, like I said, the first time that I soloed Crota, I thought it was going to be a super challenge. but I ended up doing it in about 25 to 30 minutes the first attempt. So, I mean, it's honestly not hard at all. I would recommend that everybody solo Crota before Destiny 2. And once you've done the level 30 version, go ahead and solo the level 33 version. Once you've done that, get a fire team together and go kick Crota's ass in the 390 version. So, soloing a raid, it makes you feel like you have balls the size of basketballs, man, honestly. Like, of all the things that I've done in Destiny, that's one of the things that I'm most proud of, because not a lot of people get to say that they have soloed a raid in Destiny 1. So, yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be on your bucket list. So then moving on to our next raid, we will take a look at King's Fall here. Now, King's Fall is one of the newer raids, quote-unquote, so it doesn't have like the old school light level system. You have a level 290, a level 310, and then the 390. I would skip this one altogether for King's Fall. Don't even bother with the 390 version or 290 version. If this is your first time doing King's Fall, start with the 310 version. It might be hard to find a raid team for the 310 version because not a lot of people are doing that. They all want to do this. But if you do this, you will get a very good understanding of the mechanics because this is hard mode. The enemies are going to do a little bit more damage than they would in this one. So you will get a good feel for it. Also, the 310 version of this one will have pretty much the same mechanics all around as this one right here does, with a few minor exceptions that you probably won't even notice. But same thing as the raids before, go ahead and knock out this version, and then go for the big dog, the 390 version. And then lastly, we go ahead and take a look at Wrath of the Machine. Now, Wrath of the Machine is my least favorite raid in this game. But nonetheless, Wrath of the Machine, what? Oh, I guess I haven't done it on my Titan. Wow. I was like, where's the 390 version? What the hell? So anyway, Wrath of the Machine, I would recommend starting with the 380 version. Like, when you go into it, don't go right into the 390 version. Start with the 380 version, because Wrath of the Machine, the only thing that makes this raid challenging is the fact that there are just enemies galore. Like, all these fallen bastards just keep spawning and spawning and spawning. And, like, this whole raid is mainly about ad control. Just kill the ads as quickly as you can. But this one right here, doing this version, is going to give you a really good idea of where the enemies spawn, when they spawn, where you need to stand to avoid their fire, stuff like that. So the 380 version actually feels pretty much identical to the 390 version, if that makes sense. Like, when they upped it to the current light of 390, which I still can't believe I have not done on my Titan, but once they upgraded it to the 390 version, like, I barely noticed any differences, aside from what you actually have to do for the challenge modes. But that's about it. I mean, this raid it can be a headache, but I mean, if it's on your bucket list to finish all 4 raids, it goes without saying that you're going to have to do this. So that being said, that clears up everything for the raids. I would recommend that everybody do the raids, man. All 4 of them before Destiny 2. Because the raids really are the epitome of Destiny. Moving on to the Challenge of Elders. The Challenge of Elders, even at 390, is kind of a joke. I would recommend just doing this one by yourself, or at most, doing it with 2 people in your fire team. Of course, you're not doing this really for the rewards. I mean, there's a couple of good rewards that Varix will give you over in the Reef, but for the most part, you're just doing this to say that you did it. And that is about all I have to say here. Now, for the Nightfall, this week, Voidburn, Berserk, Small Arms, Fresh Troops, and Daybreak, and it is the Winter's Run Nightfall. This is the easiest Nightfall to solo that I have seen probably in the history of Destiny. I've soloed this on all 3 of my characters this week on Xbox. A little bit later today, I will be streaming on PS4 over on Twitch, and I will be going in and soloing all 3 of these Nightfalls yet again, because honestly, it's just too easy not to solo it. As long as you're slow and patient and you take your time, anybody can solo this Nightfall, assuming you're higher than like light level 385. And I would recommend that everybody do that, because soloing a Nightfall is kind of like soloing a raid. Like, it makes you feel really good. It makes you actually feel like you accomplished something, aside from just doing an activity for loot. And to me, that's what Destiny is all about. It's that feeling of accomplishment that you get when you beat certain activities. So if you've never soloed a Nightfall, like I said, this is going to be your easiest week to do it that you will probably ever see. So I'd recommend everybody doing this. If you would like to see some good tips and videos for strategies of how to solo these Nightfalls, I recommend going and checking out either Esoteric's channel or Ibanta's channel. Both of them do weekly solo Nightfalls for all of them, not just the easy ones, but they do like some of the ridiculous Nightfalls like Omnigul with Arcburn and shit like that I can't do. I can solo this one, but I'm not doing Omnigul by myself. But yeah, go check out their channels and get some ideas of how to do this if you've never soloed a Nightfall. It's a really rewarding feeling when you solo your first Nightfall. Next up, we have Heroics and the Story playlist and the Crucible playlist. Anybody can do these, honestly. Like, there's no reason not to do these, so we're not going to include those. But the last thing that I'm going to talk about PvE-wise is going to be this guy right here, Skolas. Now, when the House of Wolves first came out and the max light level was level 34 and Skolas was a level 35, this was honestly probably the most difficult and challenging activity that Destiny has ever seen. And that includes up until this point, like all the way through the entire lifespan of Destiny, this was probably the hardest activity. Myself, I consider myself to be a fairly decent Destiny player, and I only beat Skolas maybe 5 or 6 times. Like, it was a pain in the ass. It was so hard to find a reliable team that worked together and communicated well, and I mean, just all these things combined, Skolas was hard. Now, if you go into Skolas right now with a fire team of 3, you will do the entire thing in about 10 to 15 minutes, and you'll make Skolas look like a bitch. Because it's not a challenge anymore. It honestly isn't. You can go in there with Raise Lighter, and you can just fuck them up. So what I would recommend doing, if you did not get to experience Skolas in his heyday, is go ahead and start up this level 35 Skolas run, but do it 100% solo from beginning to end, completely by yourself. There is a mechanic in the Skolas fight where you get tainted, and there's a little countdown timer of, I believe, 30 seconds. It's been a while since I did this, but when that countdown timer goes off, or goes away, if you don't have somebody else pull that thing from you, then you die. Now, if you're by yourself, obviously somebody can't pull that taint off of you. That sounds gross. But what you can do is just block with a sword, and it's kind of like the Oversoul in Crota. You can block with a sword and survive on the lower light level activities. So that's how you solo Skolas. Just when you get to Skolas, have an exotic sword and block when that countdown timer is about to go away, and you will survive. For the rest of these, I mean, you can go ahead and solo them. These don't have matchmaking. You can solo the 32 pretty easily, the 34 pretty easily, and you can solo Skolas pretty easily. But with Skolas, I mean, he's kind of glitchy, like he'll randomly teleport right on top of you and just bitch slap you in the face. So even doing it now solo, like, it's still going to be a little bit of a challenge. So it's a really good tune-up match is what I like to call it. Something to do just to kind of get your blood going and get you in the mood to kick his ass. It's just enough if you do it solo. Now, the other things that we have is Trials of Osiris. If you are a diehard Crucible fan and you have never been to the Lighthouse, your clock is ticking down to get to Mercury, man. We have trials going on this week. We have trials going on next weekend and the weekend after that, which is the week of August 11th. And that is your last chance to go do Trials of Osiris. If you do not get Trials of Osiris done by then, you will never get the opportunity to do it ever again. So you have the next 3 weekends, counting this weekend that we're in right now, to get to the Lighthouse. And that is it. They will be turning Trials of Osiris off for Destiny 1, and you will no longer have an opportunity to do it. Now, if you're not a very good PvP player, there are some options out there that you could do. You can go to websites like icycirc.com, and you can actually purchase a Trials run, and you can have somebody either carry you or just log on to your account and do it for you. icycirc is a good friend of mine. He is like top 1% in the world in Destiny, and I mean, he's a trustworthy guy. So if you really want to get to the Lighthouse, if you really want to get that Flawless, but you are not able to do it, that is your other option. Another option that you could do is go check out some of these Twitch streamers that do like weekly raffles for free for Trials of Osiris. icycirc actually does that too, as well as countless other streamers on Twitch. They can help get you to the Lighthouse if you have never been. And the very last thing, guys, which I can't show you right now, but it will be here on Tuesday, and that is Iron Banner. If you have never reached rank 5 in Iron Banner, this coming up Tuesday is going to be your last week to do it. The last Iron Banner starts this Tuesday, and it will end the following reset, and there will be no more Iron Banner ever for Destiny 1. So if you've never reached rank 5 in Iron Banner, you have one more chance to do it. So if that's something that you want to cross off your bucket list, make sure that you make it happen. And that is going to bring this video to an end, guys. If you enjoyed it, click like. If you're new to the channel, click subscribe. And if you are already subscribed, I fucking love you. Drop a comment in the box below. Let me know which activity is #1 on your bucket list for Destiny 1 before Destiny 2 comes out. Thank you for watching, and take care, guys.